Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Program Town Hall. We'll give folks a few seconds, a few more minutes to log in. We expect a big crowd today. So we'll start in just a minute or two. Okay, good morning. It's 11:02. Let's get started. Welcome to the Elevate Program Spring 2026 Town Hall. We thank you for joining us today and for your dedication to staying updated on Workday Student. Our plan is to speak with you today for about 50 minutes. We want to make sure you have time to jump to your next busy meeting or grab lunch or whatever is on your schedule. Before we begin, I do have a few housekeeping items that I'd like to mention. First, I want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded today. So by continuing to join, you consent to being recorded. So as you can see from the slide, closed captioning is available. If you'd like to enable it, you will find the Show Captions icon in the Meeting Controls bar. Like I mentioned, we are recording this webinar and plan to post it on the Elevate website, where you'll find all our other town hall recordings. We expect to take about a week to remediate the recording for accessibility, and then you'll receive an email from us to let you know that it's available. And we're hoping that you will share it with friends and colleagues on campus. Next, we imagine you will have a few questions about Workday Student today, and we've set aside time at the end of the session to address as many questions as possible. As this is a large group, we encourage you to submit your questions using the Q&A feature throughout the presentation. Members of our team will be reviewing questions as they come in and responding where they can. If we are not able to get to your question or we'd like additional time to provide the most detailed response, I wanted to let you know that we are capturing both questions and contact information, and we will follow up with you. And with that, I will now turn it over to Jack Blanchard, Associate Provost for Enterprise Resource Planning, for the balance of this presentation.
Thanks so much, Sin, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Excited to give you some updates on the Elevate Student Project. Walk you quickly through the agenda. In our first item, we're very fortunate to have Provost Rice with us this morning for some introductory comments. I'll give you an overview of the Elevate program. We know that some of you have seen this before, but we'll try to update anyone who's new. I'll give you some updates looking in the rearview mirror, so to speak, of what we accomplished over the fall, talk about how we've been engaging our campus and partnering with folks, and then talk about this semester, the spring 2026, of what we've been addressing and what we will continue to work on. And then we'll close out with that Q&A that Sin mentioned. And I will also just remind you about how to stay engaged with us and continue to be informed. And with that, I'm very happy to introduce Provost Rice.
Thank you, Jack. Good morning, everyone. And thank you all so much for joining us for today's Elevate Student Town Hall. It's really, really great to see such strong engagement from across our campus to kick off this session. So I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to be with you all, and it looks like we're approaching 200 people. So really, really grateful that all of you have taken time out of your busy schedules to be with us. These conversations are a really important part of how we stay connected as we move forward with this transformative university initiative that will affect all of us in all of our spaces across campus. So once again, thank you for being here. As you all know, the Elevate Student Program represents a significant step in modernizing how we support our students and our university mission. This effort really is all about improving the systems and the processes that shape a student's academic journey here at the University of Maryland. And our overarching goal with all of this work is to create a more seamless, a more transparent, and a more user-friendly experience for all. This work builds on our successful transition to Workday for finance and human resources functions. That transition has demonstrated both our ability to manage these complex multi-year shifts, as well as the value of doing so thoughtfully and collaboratively, and with a focus on long-term sustained impact. We have learned a lot through those prior implementation experiences, and we are applying all of those lessons learned as we move forward with Workday Student. We're now in a critical phase of this work as we define how the University of Maryland's academic policies and processes and data structures will be represented in the new system. It's really careful, detailed work, and it's intentionally paced to ensure that we get the design right before we move forward with testing and implementation. One of the most important aspects of this phase is the level of engagement that we're seeing across the university. Faculty, staff, and students are all actively contributing their important expertise and perspectives to help us shape this system. More than 175 subject matter experts from across our schools, colleges, and administrative units have contributed hundreds of hours to collaborative design sessions. And I really want to thank those subject matter experts for rising to the call. Thank you. We've also expanded opportunities for broader input through our advisory committees. This spring, we launched the Student Advisory Committee, which includes both undergraduate and graduate students. Students who are taking time out of their very busy schedules. Their voices are essential in helping us as we understand the real world impact of our decisions, and to ensure that the systems that we develop reflect the needs of those that they're ultimately designed to serve. Similarly, our Faculty Advisory Committee continues to play a critical role providing insight into how the system reflects real campus needs. So many of these efforts would not be possible, of course, without the sustained contributions of our dedicated and hardworking staff, whose expertise and collaboration are absolutely essential to advancing this effort and ensuring its success across the university. Together, all of you are helping to inform key decisions in areas where the user experience really matters. This level of engagement is not only impressive, it's essential. It ensures that we're building a system that reflects the diversity and the complexity of our academic programs, while also promoting greater consistency and clarity and sustainability across the institution. I also want to acknowledge that this is a significant undertaking. Change at this scale requires collaboration, it requires flexibility, and it requires a shared commitment to long-term success. We're fully committed to supporting our community throughout this process, providing resources and communication and guidance that's needed along the way. So I really just want to thank you all for being involved, for tuning in today. And please remember to take advantage of the wealth of information and resources available on the Elevate website. So we truly appreciate your willingness to participate in opportunities like this, to share your feedback, and to learn more as this work progresses. Thank you, thank you. And now let me turn it back over to Jack to talk about progress and what lies ahead.
Thank you so much, Provost Rice. And I'll start off with a program overview. And on some of the points that Provost Rice made, we'll kind of unpack some of those in a little bit more detail. But in terms of the overview, the question I often get is, why are we doing this? What is the problem that we're trying to fix? And as Provost Rice noted, this is a heavy lift. This is a multi-year endeavor. This is challenging at a time when we're all busy with other things. So do we really have a compelling reason for this? And the answer is yes. Our current systems, when we talk about ERP, this is our enterprise resource planning systems. The computing infrastructure that allows us to get the work of the university done is what to think about an ERP system. These systems are obsolete and can no longer meet the complex needs of a flagship university. And we modernized our HR and finance systems back in the fall of 2024 as they migrated to a modernized system in Workday. And now we're getting ready to address student. And student is a compelling need. Our student information system, elements of it, as you can see here, are based on COBOL, a programming language that's 60 years old. It's served its purpose, but it is no longer meeting our needs. And we very much need to modernize. And this is something that we have been spending years planning on. I started in this position in 2019. So this was not a decision that was taken lightly. It is a decision that allows us to transform the way we do our business to better support our students, our staff, our faculty. And we're doing this through Workday. That is the platform that we adopted. It is the platform that we moved our HR and finance systems to, and it's the platform that will now have a lot of our student functionality. Workday has a lot of advantages. It's a single integrated platform. So there's one source of truth, so to speak, in terms of the data. Data are easier to access and report on. And we also have mobile access. I know that's something that students are used to in their everyday lives. And that's not something that we can deliver in our current systems. We are not alone in this transition. Many universities find themselves using outdated systems that need to be modernized. A total of 95 schools are now using Workday Student. And these are some of the larger school systems that have adopted Workday. University of British Columbia, the University of Arkansas system, Louisiana State, Iowa State, and others. These other schools have served as a very important source of information for us in making our decision years ago to come to Workday. We used other schools who had made this transition to help inform that decision. And now that we're implementing Workday, we're consulting with these schools. We are learning from them what was successful, what might they have done better, what wisdom do they have to share. So we're leveraging these experiences with these schools and helping inform their next steps. And in the same way, we're already being contacted by other schools who are not yet on Workday asking us about our experiences and our recommendations. So it's a very supportive community in higher education. So I said that Workday is replacing our student systems, but I want to clarify that it will replace some key systems, but not all. In this table, on the left-hand side, you have systems that are being replaced by Workday, and that includes Testudo, the student portal, UMeg, other systems listed there on the left. But then there are systems that are not being replaced by Workday, like TurpEngage or Canvas. That's because those systems provide functionality that is useful and functionality that's not necessarily available on Workday. Those systems will be integrated with Workday. They will be connected, so they're sharing data, and these systems are working together. Overall, this is going back to 2019, 2020. We documented what are our goals. And these are the goals that should drive all of our decisions as we approach first HR and finance in Workday and now student. Well, the first one is we want to provide a positive user experience. Second, we want to help make the university more efficient and effective. And we want to allow the university to accurately collect, report, and analyze data. Those data are important, obviously, for our users like students, and they also are important for the campus to be able to make decisions, informed decisions. And clearly, we want to ensure data security and privacy. And last, we want ERP systems that are reliable and, importantly, can be maintained and updated. We don't want systems that are going to grow stale on us that we can't update and that are difficult to repair. That's what we have now. So these are all the goals that drive us. And as Provost Rice noted, we have leadership that inform us, guide us from an institutional level. This is an institutional priority, and we have this institutional backing, which has been so critical over these years. Of course, we have Provost Rice. We have Jeff Hollingsworth as our VP and Chief Information Officer, Patty Perillo as VP for Student Affairs, and Greg Oler, VP for Finance and Chief Financial Officer. These are individuals who are deeply engaged and knowledgeable in helping to guide the system. In addition to that, we have a very large executive steering committee, the ESC. I'm not going to read all these names, but this committee is capturing additional campus leaders, stakeholders from multiple different domains that are touched on by the student system, making sure that they're giving us input and informing us about how to do this correctly. So very broad and deep leadership expertise guiding us. So I'm going to provide some highlights looking in the rearview mirror about what we did in the fall of 2025. Then I'll pivot to talking about what we're doing this semester. And before I do that, just want to orient everyone on a calendar. Again, this is a multi-year effort for Workday Student. On the upper left, you can see that we started this work back in 2023 as we did a readiness phase, established governance, and then we started planning in 2024. And by the time you look down on the left to that architect and configure, that's where we are now. And look to the right, starting last year, we started these work sets. That's at WS. And there are 5 buckets, if you will, A, B, C, D, and E. And in each of these buckets, we are taking processes that are necessary to support students and everything tied into that, and designing, architecting those, and making decisions. And we will highlight some of the things that we accomplished for 2025. You can see we're now in work set C. And by the end of this semester, when we get through May, we will have completed work set C. And I think we're that point, about 90% of the business processes will be configured, and then we'll continue in work set D and E. By the time we get into next year, that's where you see that test and train. So lots of testing of the systems, making sure that processes are working, the way they connect with other processes are working. And I'll talk more about that. And then we are doing training as early as next year, and developing training and then deploying that. One thing that's different about Elevate student implementation versus what we did for HR and finance is what you see on that lower right-hand side, those 5 dots. Because of the scope and complexity of student, we roll out functionality in stages. And that's different from what we did for HR and finance. In the fall of 2024, we all woke up that November morning and we are on Workday for HR and finance. Big Bang Go Live, that's called. For student, as I said, we'll be rolling out functionality in stages. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see what each of those milestones or go lives, what functionality is being released. And so as that functionality is released, those legacy systems that are being replaced then go into read-only mode. They start to get retired, and Workday will progressively take over functionality in that student space until we wrap up in the fall of 2028 at that 5th milestone. In terms of when most people will be entering Workday and using Workday, it's going to be at that 3rd milestone in spring of 2028 as people start working, students start working with advising and registering for courses that are going to happen in the fall. So I want to highlight some of the things that we accomplished in 2025. All of that early work now serves as a base for everything that comes next, and that sets us up for success. I'll touch on a few of these. I'm not going to go through everything about degree audit, student holds, and flexible registration. One spotlight is that there are these academic progress report. This interface lets students and advisors quickly track a student's academic journey. providing a detailed overview of their overall academic progress very quickly in one location. And that same view is provided to students and advisors, so that increases transparency in these conversations that are happening between students and advisors. They see the same information, they quickly understand where they are, and can make informed decisions about what happens next. Workday Student will introduce what are called advisory programs, which can track non-academic degree requirements and accomplishments. So university general education requirements will be an advisory program in Workday. Advisory program requirements can be tracked directly in a student's academic progress report, so they can see what the requirement is, what the status of that requirement is, has it been satisfied, and then how was it satisfied. Again, increasing the information to students, the transparency, and allowing them to make better decisions to more effectively track their progress and be successful in their path at University of Maryland. The other thing that we accomplished was looking at student onboarding. So we know that when students onboard at the beginning of a semester, there are lots of things that they're trying to coordinate. And sometimes they're logging into multiple systems to do that. What we are aiming to do with Workday is to simplify that onboarding process by consolidating the majority of start of the semester activities into this single system in Workday. So students will be able to go into their My Task list, and they'll see what needs to be done on the far left there. And then they can go through and start addressing each of those onboarding tasks, and that will be tracked. So again, that user experience, improving that for students. The other thing has to do with holds, student holds. Workday will standardize hold names and also have a clear resolution step to make it very transparent for students about why is this being held and what do I need to do to resolve that student hold. So it'll tell you what needs to be done and the instructions for resolving that. Again, so students understand when a hold occurs, how to fix it so that they're not wasting time. This is one that I like. This is registration. Within Workday, students will have registration opportunities where they can build their schedule. And in Workday, you'll see that weekly schedule, and you can see where their courses are lying and what they might be in conflict with. And you can save your schedules so that when your registration appointment comes up, you can simply click what schedule you want to register for, and it will automatically register for all of those courses. I said that this is one of my favorite because my son is a graduate of the University of Maryland. Shout out to the School of Public Health. And I recall his frustration when he was trying to build schedules and finding course conflicts that he wasn't aware of and other issues. This will simplify that process and make it much easier for students to build schedules and see where they have conflicts, to save that, and again, just click it when their appointment comes up. We know that students transfer credits to the university. Workday will make it clearer. It will provide visibility into that transfer credit. How was it evaluated? How was it processed? And how is it being applied to their academic progress here at the University of Maryland, all within Workday Student. So you can see that original coursework and then what's being transferred for credit to Maryland. So all of this requires extensive engagement with the campus. As Provost Rice noted, we need to have input from experts across so many different levels because the student system connects with everything. It connects with all of our schools and colleges, undergraduate, graduate programs, finance. So this can only be successful when we have people contributing their time, their expertise, and we've been so grateful for that, and it's allowed us to be successful. As Provost Rice noted, we are working with subject matter experts, SMEs being the acronym, and we have over 175 of those. Here in this graph, I have 150 of those positions within the Division of Academic Affairs. So every college and school is represented. And again, this is from lessons learned with HR and finance, making sure that we have people who have the expertise, who are working within these systems, who are responsible for processes, that they are involved with us in making decisions and designing this so that when it's delivered, it's going to work for the people on the front lines. So that subject matter contributions have included informing us about prerequisites and co-requisite permissions, gen ed overrides, permission to enroll forms, mandatory advising reports, just a few of the processes where that engagement has helped us, informed us. And by the numbers, in fall of 2025, we held 500 meeting sessions with these 175 plus individuals over 800 hours. So again, thank you, gratitude, and this is what's going to allow us to be successful. And this work is not done. It will continue as we move forward into 2027 and 2028. It will change in its nature, but the work that we're doing now is so foundational. So thank you all who've been a part of that. We also engage the campus and will continue to engage the campus in other ways. Provost Rice mentioned advisory committees. We have two student advisory committees, one through an undergraduate lens and the other graduate students. In all, we have 174 students who've agreed to participate in these advisory committees. So we have 2 sessions a semester. The second one is coming up for student advisory committees. We'll continue that next fall and continue that in the spring of 2027. We also have faculty advisory committee, faculty representatives from all schools and colleges. And that faculty advisory committee is made up of over 32 faculty. I say over 32 because whenever we schedule a meeting, and like with the students, we have 2 meetings a semester, we invite those members to call in whoever they think might be relevant for the topic that we're addressing. So we've done things like talking about student onboarding, registration appointments, and methods in course prerequisite overrides. So that work continues, and we're really leveraging the input of those different groups. Graduate programs, we have, I think it's over 230 graduate programs on campus involving 11,000 approximately students. So we need to be sure that we're getting graduate programs right in terms of all of the nuances of their requirements. And so we've been engaged with central offices on campus. As we move forward, we are going to have a much more granular engagement with graduate programs to make sure that we get insights into the way that we're approaching this and that we're making sure that we're getting it right for those local programs. Another example of campus engagement is course renumbering. It might surprise some people that at some point we're going to run out of course numbers. And so we really are thinking forward into the future and adding a 4th digit and planning ahead for those campus needs strategically. And that required extensive collaboration and partnership with the provost's office, the registrar's office, working out a strategy and engaging the different groups and organizations that you see listed there, VPAC, UGAP, et cetera. So the work continues, very active, successful fall, but now we're getting into the spring, and here we are already in April. So as I talk about spring, it's almost over. And you can see we've been very busy and will continue to be busy through the end of the month. These are the topics. This is that architect and configure that we started last year. These are the topics that we continue to work on. I'm not going to go through all of these bullets, but just want to highlight everything from admissions, academic foundation and transfer, dealing with curriculum and registration, financial aid, student financials, the graduate student experience, how that's different, how we accommodate that. So all of this is continuing to leverage those subject matter experts. Those hundreds of meetings that we had in the fall continue this spring, addressing all the topics that you see listed here. So we're doing well on time, and that's good. allows me to catch my breath. The way for you to stay engaged, and I want to emphasize here, I've been on this campus for going on 27 years in a variety of different roles. I'm a faculty member. I was a former department chair. I'm currently an academic director for a master's program. One of the things I'm well aware of is that given the size of this campus, there's so many things going on in addition to my daily work and what's on my desk. And we understand that information is what's important to get in front of people. When you're not informed, when you're not certain what's going on, people get anxious, understandably. And so we have these town hall meetings. We have other opportunities for engagement. There's advisory groups. But we want you to be well aware that our website, elevate.umd.edu, is continually updated. This is not static. It's not something that we stood up last year and you're going to look at it and there's going to be nothing new there. We are always updating it with new information. It's a great place to go if you have questions to learn more about it. If you, your staff, your students are curious, this is the first place to go. We have archived videos of prior town hall meetings. We have a monthly newsletter that you can subscribe to and access through the website. So this is something that's really important for us, and it is our way of keeping our campus informed and engaged. Saying that, if you visit the website, if your staff, students visit the website and you're still confused about something or puzzling about something, email us, elevate@umd.edu. That is curated. You will get a response. We want you to be informed. So that's critical to us, and we want to be sure that we're supporting you as we move forward. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sin, and we're going to go into, I believe, an opportunity for Q&A.
Great. We have about 15 or 20 minutes to ask a few questions that are coming in. Let's start with the questions about timing, scope, and what phase we're in right now. The question is, what date will Workday be fully implemented? And is this also when we will lose access to systems such as SIS, Advise on the Web, Testudo, and UAchieve?
Right. So I touched on this a little bit in one of my prior slides, but the full functionality of Workday will come on that 5th go live, and that's in the fall of 2028. And before that time, we'll start to have access to the system. Most students and faculty will start seeing the system and working in the system in that spring of 2028 as there's advising and registration for the fall courses. Prior to that, there'll be some early access in the summer for some systems, but fewer people touching the system for that. So majority of folks will see it in spring of 2028 and fully operational in fall of 2028. Regarding those other systems, SIS, AOW, and Testudo and UAchieve, after we go live with Workday-related functionality, those systems will become view-only or read-only, and they'll eventually be retired. But the functionality of Workday will replace them. Did I hit everything there, Sin?
Yes, great. Thank you. You mentioned that Workday will replace some systems, but not all. Can you clarify what that means?
Right. In the table that I showed you, and that table, by the way, is available at elevate.umd.edu, there are some systems like UMEG and Testudo where functionality is going to be in Workday. And so those systems are going to be retired. There are other systems like TerpEngage that provide useful functionality, and in some cases, functionality that's not available in Workday. So those systems will persist, their functionality will persist, but what we'll be doing is connecting those systems to Workday so they'll be fully integrated and sharing data, sharing information. As we get closer to these go lives, we'll be also pushing out more information to the campus about what's upcoming in the near term, what functionality is going to be delivered. So you'll be aware of this kind of phased approach and those 5 markers I showed you. And again, that calendar is also available at elevate.umd.edu.
Great, thank you. What does being in design actually look like right now for our campus partners?
Yeah, so the thing about Workday is that it is not the kind of software that you buy it, load it up, and you just start using it, right? Each university has unique processes, unique approaches to how they do things in their academic programs. And so there is this process of configuration where we need to review our processes, our needs, and configure Workday to our local requirements. And so that being in design is that stage where we're working with all of those subject matter experts in design sessions to try to understand the processes that need to be addressed, proposing a configuration, a design that we think is going to work, and then validating those assumptions with those subject matter experts to ensure that it's going to work for them the way that it's intended. And so that's what the design phase is about.
Okay. Next, let's talk about who we're engaging, and you had mentioned in the presentation, but how we're engaging them and how we are gathering input about shaping the design. The first question, you shared that faculty and student advisory committees have been active this semester. Can you tell us more about what those groups have been working on?
Yeah. And again, I want to acknowledge and thank those groups, the 174 student participants and the 32 plus faculty who are involved. Those advisory committees have focused on areas where user experience is especially important. We want to understand, we've designed, like I was just talking about, a process, and we want to understand now from a faculty perspective, whether you're an administrator or an instructor or an advisor, when you're in that role, what does this look like to you? What would that user experience be like? And get feedback from those users to help us then further refine and validate what we're doing in those design sessions. And same with students trying to get their perspective. So we will continue doing that, both with the advisory groups and going out to, for example, graduate programs. The goal is to ensure that we're making informed decisions about how best to serve our users, and that ultimately the system reflects those real campus needs and that we are maximizing what Workday can do for us.
Okay, and you had just mentioned, but one question that comes up is about the graduate school and the graduate programs and how they're
Yeah.
being engaged. Can you tell us more about that work?
Yeah, so we've been deeply involved with graduate school and gathering information at a kind of central level about program requirements, et cetera. And moving into this semester, as I described it, a more granular approach is now we're going directly to colleges and their programs to understand their particular requirements. Keep in mind, we have over 230 graduate programs on this campus. This is certificate programs, master's programs, which are MA, MS, professional master's programs, and then we have doctoral programs serving about 11,000 students across 12 schools and colleges. Those are lots of numbers. All that means is that there's a lot of complexity and a lot of nuance in terms of things like calendars, requirements, fees, how things are handled in each of those. So this semester, we've started that more local approach, and we will continue engaging those programs at a local level to make sure that we're not missing anything and to validate decisions and designs that are being made.
Okay, let's look ahead a little bit. People are eager to see the system in action and understand what happens between now and go live. Seeing some screenshots today was great, but we're looking to see if there'll be live demonstrations of Workday Student.
Yeah, absolutely right. That static screenshot, we're trying to keep you informed, but yeah, it's lacking that dynamic aspect of what is it to be in the system and clicking and navigating it and seeing it work. That will be coming. There'll be a broader functional overviews will begin in 2027, next year. These are what we call role-based demonstrations. Role-based is, if you're a faculty member as an instructor, a faculty member as an advisor, those are different roles that you're in. Staff may have different roles, and so we target those particular roles and have these functional overviews to show how key processes, such as onboarding or advising or registration or financial tasks for students, will work in Workday before formal training begins. And so we'll start getting that exposure and getting feedback from users. These functional overviews will also be persona focused. Again, what that term means is we'll look at different user groups. Students will have different experiences that we'll be showing them versus faculty versus staff, to be sure that they are getting a more individual and unique engagement, and we can get feedback from those stakeholder groups. Subject matter experts and process owners that are engaged in design will continue to see configurations and examples throughout this phase that we're in. So kind of behind the scenes, all those people who are working with us, they are continuing to see how the system is evolving and how it's working. So I think I've touched on the different ways. So more information coming. And yes, in 2027, for larger groups of populations on the campus, there'll be more opportunities to actually see what this is looking like beyond screenshots.
Great. And will there be opportunities to test drive or practice in Workday Student before go live?
Yeah, definitely before go live, we're going to have testing. Early testing focuses on validating specific processes and making sure that we configure, how a student is going to register for a course, does it actually work the way intended? Well, now connecting that to other processes. So when they register for a course, do we see the bill appear the way it should, and is the charge getting posted? And we do progressive elaboration in that testing to make sure that all these processes are working individually and then interconnected throughout all the other systems that are going to be working. Then in late fall of 2027, we have what's called a mock semester. So this is an opportunity to provide students, faculty, and staff an opportunity to participate in realistic scenarios where they're logging into Workday and they can do certain tasks in Workday. And that does a couple of things for us. Testing the system with hundreds of people new to the system, logging in, coming in, and trying something out. And it is also giving us feedback from users. Do they navigate that in ways that we expected? Are there ways that we need to clarify things? How do we need to build our training to better support folks when they do come in after that mock semester? So the mock semester is a great way for typically hundreds of people across campus, students, staff, and faculty, to come into the system early and start running it through its paces, so to speak.
Great. And of course, you mentioned training, and that question comes up pretty often.
Yeah.
What should people expect when it comes to training for Workday Student?
Well, the first thing I would say, and I'm going to echo what Provost Rice noted, we learned from the HR finance Workday implementation. That was an enormous project involving thousands of staff, faculty, and some students. And we learned about where maybe we could improve things, where we definitely want to address some areas where users told us that it needs to be done better. And so we have surveys from over, I think it's 1,700 users after we went live on HR and finance for Workday. In those surveys, for example, captured information about, hey, this is what I liked about the training, and oh, this is what didn't work for me so well. And so we're using multiple sources to improve what we've learned from that implementation to develop training. We've also talked, as I mentioned before, to other schools who've gone live, who've trained with their student implementation and asking them about lessons learned and ideas. So again, training when it does happen for Workday student will be role-based and it will be phased over time. So you're not going to get trained on everything in Workday if you're only in a particular role as a student or a staff member or a faculty member. You'll do training that's relevant for you, the role that you have in using that system. And that training will align with your needs so you're not wasting your time or effort learning something that's not relevant. And we won't do this some single point of time training where everyone gets trained at the same time. Remember that 5 go lives? Training will be deployed to align with when Workday is coming online, and that training will be provided for those individuals using that functionality when it comes live. So it's going to be a more nuanced approach to training. We'll continue to develop our training approach in the coming months, and we'll have more information as we get closer that we'll start sharing out with folks about what that's going to start looking like.
Okay, great. This question comes in quite a bit too. How is the mobile access being considered for Workday student?
Yeah, it's beyond a consideration. It is going to be mobile access. That is one of the features that's really attractive about Workday. And it is designed to be accessible across devices, including mobile. And many users, especially students, will be able to view information and complete certain tasks all on their phone or on a tablet. So that's definitely an advantage, and that is part of what we're doing. But I also want to note that at the same time, not every activity is best completed on a mobile device. You have that small footprint, that small viewing screen. Training and communications will likely happen online with tasks that are more mobile friendly when a desktop experience is recommended. So users understand how to engage with the systems most effectively. So more guidance about training and when mobile devices might be the best and when using a desktop might be more appropriate or easier from the user perspective.
Okay, I'm watching the time, and we have time for just one more question.
Okay.
Let me see. How can I stay informed and continue learning about Elevate and Workday Student?
Yeah, and we want you to. We need you to remain informed. And if not you, your colleagues, staff, students, elevate.umd.edu is the best place to go to remain informed. That's where we continue to update and refine our frequently asked questions section. We continue to update that with questions that we are getting online, questions that we get over email, questions that we get in town halls. As I noted, we have a monthly newsletter. You can subscribe to that and it can come to your mailbox automatically, or you can go to the website and access it. And then just pay attention to when there are future invites for these town halls. We will have a town hall every semester, and the intent of this is to keep everyone informed. And I'll stop there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your time. And I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the upcoming weekend.